the 18th of October, 2009. In the quiet city of Lomita, California, few people could imagine that one of the most disturbing murder cases in modern American history was unfolding behind closed doors. A local chef. A missing wife. A restaurant hiding dark secrets. For months, friends searched for answers after 39-year-old Dawn Viens vanished without a trace. But when investigators finally uncovered the truth, even seasoned detectives were horrified. This is the chilling story of David Viens, the chef who admitted to killing his wife and later confessed to boiling her body for days in an attempt to erase all evidence. Before the headlines and courtroom confessions, David and Dawn Viens appeared to be a hard-working couple trying to build a successful future together. David Viens worked as a chef and co-owned the Time Contemporary Cafe with his wife Dawn. The small restaurant developed a loyal following in the community. Friends described Dawn as outgoing and social. She worked as the hostess at the cafe and was often seen chatting with customers and neighboring business owners. To outsiders, they looked like a normal married couple trying to make a restaurant succeed during difficult economic times. But behind the scenes, investigators later learned the relationship was troubled. Financial stress, accusations of drug use, jealousy, and constant arguments reportedly created tension inside the marriage. According to court testimony, the couple drank heavily and occasionally used drugs together. Still, no one expected the marriage would end in violence. On the 18th of October, 2009, Dawn Viens vanished. According to David, the couple had gone out earlier that evening before returning home and arguing. Over time, David gave multiple conflicting explanations about what happened that night. In one version, he claimed the fight started because Dawn had stolen money from the restaurant. In another version, he blamed drugs and alcohol. He later told investigators that Dawn was bothering him while he was trying to sleep. During a recorded confession, David admitted he became violent. He claimed he used duct tape to cover Dawn's mouth and restrained her hands and feet. According to David, this was something he had allegedly done before when he believed Dawn was intoxicated and out of control. Then he went to sleep. Hours later, he woke up and discovered Dawn dead. Investigators would later question nearly every part of his story. After Dawn vanished, something strange happened. David never reported his wife missing. Instead, he allegedly told friends and customers different stories. Some people were told Dawn had left town. Others heard she went into rehab. Some received suspicious text messages supposedly sent from Dawn herself. Prosecutors later argued those messages were fake and sent by David to make it appear Dawn was still alive. As weeks turned into months, Dawn's friends became increasingly suspicious. One of them was a neighboring business owner who noticed unusual behavior around the restaurant after Dawn disappeared. Friends eventually contacted Dawn's sister, who filed a missing persons report. The investigation slowly intensified. Detectives began noticing inconsistencies in David's statements. Meanwhile, Dawn had completely disappeared from public life. No phone calls. No bank activity. No confirmed sightings. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. As investigators dug deeper, suspicion centered around David Viens. Detectives searched multiple locations connected to the couple, including their home and restaurant. At one point, investigators believed Dawn's body might be hidden beneath the restaurant itself. Authorities used cadaver dogs, shovels, and jackhammers while excavating parts of the building. The search drew major media attention. Customers and neighbors watched in shock as homicide investigators tore apart sections of the once popular cafe. Still, no body was found. But police continued building their case. Then everything changed in February 2011. David learned investigators were closing in on him. Instead of cooperating, he attempted to flee. During a confrontation with authorities near Rancho Palos Verdes, David drove into the hills before jumping off an 80-foot cliff. Miraculously, he survived. But the fall left him severely injured and confined to a wheelchair. While recovering in a hospital bed, David made the confession that would horrify the nation. In taped interviews with detectives, David Viens confessed to killing Dawn. But what shocked investigators most was what he claimed happened afterward. David told detectives he panicked after realizing Dawn was dead. Then he began thinking about how to dispose of the body. As a chef, he was familiar with large cooking containers and restaurant grease disposal systems. Investigators said David confessed to placing Dawn's body inside a 55-gallon drum filled with boiling water. He claimed he weighed the body down and slowly boiled it over the course of 4 days. During the recorded interview, detectives asked him directly if he had cooked Dawn's body for 4 days. David replied, "I cooked her 4 days." According to prosecutors, David then mixed the remains with restaurant waste and disposed of them through the restaurant grease pit and trash system. He also claimed he kept Dawn's skull for a period of time. Authorities searched locations mentioned in his confession but never recovered human remains. The confession stunned investigators, jurors, and the public. Even experienced homicide detectives described the case as one of the most disturbing they had encountered. In 2012, David Viens went on trial for murder in Los Angeles. The prosecution relied heavily on the taped confessions recorded from his hospital bed. Jurors listened as David calmly described restraining Dawn and later disposing of her body. Friends, former co-workers, and family members also testified. Prosecutors argued David intentionally killed Dawn and attempted to erase every trace of the crime. The defense attempted to challenge the confession. David later claimed parts of his statements were exaggerated or false. His attorneys argued he had been under heavy medication after surviving the cliff jump. But prosecutors pointed out that David provided highly detailed descriptions during multiple interviews. The jury ultimately found him guilty of second-degree murder. Despite the lack of a recovered body, the confession and surrounding evidence convinced jurors beyond a reasonable doubt. In March 2013, David Viens was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison. During sentencing, David reportedly delivered a lengthy and emotional speech while acting as his own attorney. At times, he attempted to distance himself from the gruesome confession that had become infamous worldwide. But the court upheld the conviction. Meanwhile, Dawn's family was left without closure. Her body was never recovered. No grave exists. No final resting place was ever found. For investigators, the case remained haunting because so much physical evidence had disappeared forever. The David Viens case became international news because of the disturbing details involved. True crime audiences were horrified not only by the murder itself, but by the calculated attempt to destroy all evidence afterward. The story spread across television specials, newspapers, documentaries, and online crime forums. Many people struggled to understand how someone could carry out such acts while continuing to operate a public restaurant. Others were disturbed by how long Dawn's disappearance went unnoticed by authorities. The case also highlighted a painful reality in missing persons investigations. Sometimes the people closest to the victim already know more than they admit. Today, David Viens remains in prison for the murder of Dawn Viens. More than a decade later, the case is still remembered as one of California's most gruesome murder investigations. A woman vanished without a trace. A husband confessed to unthinkable acts. And a quiet restaurant in Lomita became the center of a nightmare that shocked the world. But despite the conviction, one mystery remains unsolved. Where are Dawn Viens' remains? And will her family ever truly get closure? The Insight Views. Sharper focus. Deeper insight. Uncovering stories, revealing truths. Turning headlines into understanding.